Hello friends, this is teacher JB. Today we are going to study past tense of to be contracted forms. Past tense of to be contracted forms. This content is from the book In Focus. In affirmative sentences, contractions doesn't happen. So in affirmative, no contraction. I was in class yesterday. You were tired last night. He was on vacation in Hawaii. She was a tall girl. It was a good party. We were full after the dinner. You were late for the movie. They were in the studio. So these are called affirmative. In easier way, it is going to be positive. It's not negative. So in these affirmative sentences, no contraction. There is no contracted form of the past tense affirmative form of the verb to be. But in negative sentences, we can see contraction. Contractions happen in negative sentences. I wasn't, this wasn't is the contracted form of was not. I was not, but it's I wasn't. I wasn't here yesterday. You weren't. This is the contraction form of were not. This is not were, this is were, and then this is weren't. Weren't. You weren't sick on Tuesday. He wasn't, was not, he wasn't at home. She wasn't, was not, she wasn't fat. It wasn't, was not, it wasn't very delicious food. Now, plural, they are all were not, were not. And then contraction is weren't, weren't. It is not weren't, so E doesn't make a sound here. It's one syllable, weren't, weren't. We weren't hungry. You weren't on time. They weren't at the beach. But the thing we need to remember is contractions are less formal than the full form. Wasn't is a contraction and was not is the full form. Contractions are used more in spoken English and the full form is used more in written English. So we can practice the contraction but try to use the full form when you write sentences. For example, I was not here yesterday. Yesterday. But when you say, you can say, I wasn't here yesterday. I was not here yesterday when you write the sentence. When you say I wasn't here yesterday. I was happy. I wasn't happy at all. Again, this is a story. So we are supposed to use, it's better that we use uncontracted form, but we are practicing contraction. So this is just as practice. Okay. Last week, I was not. I wasn't happy at all. Anna was happy because her father got promoted. Sam was happy because he got a new bike. Tim was happy because it was his birthday. However, I wasn't. I was not. I wasn't happy because nothing good happened to me last week. 2 weeks ago, I was very happy. And I wasn't happy because she fell and got injured. Sam wasn't happy because he got a C in his math test. Tim wasn't happy because he was sick. However, I was happy because nothing bad happened to me 2 weeks ago. Okay, so was not, contraction, wasn't. Okay, we have affirmative sentences here. So let us change this into negative sentences using the contraction forms, okay? I was happy, so it is I was not happy. So I was not, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy. You were a bad boy. The negative is you were not a bad boy, and contractive form is you weren't. You weren't a bad boy. You weren't a bad boy. He was small. He was small. Negative is he was not small. He was not, so he wasn't small. He wasn't small. He wasn't small. She was pretty. Negative is she was not pretty, so she wasn't. She wasn't pretty. She wasn't pretty. It was delicious. Negatives, it was not delicious. And the contractive form is it wasn't delicious. It wasn't delicious. D-L-I-C-I-O-U-S. We were friends. The negative is we were not friends. And contractive form is we weren't. We weren't. Again, it's not we weren't. This is we weren't. One syllable. We weren't friends. We weren't friends. Next sentence is you were bad boys. Look at number 2. You were a bad boy. The form is here the same, but this is singular, so a bad boy. And then number 7, you were bad boys. So this is plural. Anyway, you were not bad boys. So contraction is you weren't. You weren't bad boys. You weren't bad boys. Number 8, they were hungry. So they were not hungry. So they weren't. They weren't hungry. And next one, Sam and I were lazy. So Sam and I, this is we, right? So we were not lazy and we weren't. We weren't lazy. Tom and you, this is you. You were thirsty and you were not thirsty. The contractive form is you weren't. You weren't thirsty. Okay? Was not is wasn't. Were not is weren't. Was not, wasn't. Was not, wasn't. Was not, wasn't. Were not, weren't. Were not, weren't. Were not, weren't. Okay, this is the conclusion of today's study. I will come back to you with another topic as soon as possible. Until then, keep studying English and have a great day. Bye.